There's a quote by Alex Mosi that resonates with me. We don't have business problems, we have personal problems that appear in our business. This concept can apply to any area of self-improvement. We don't really have study problems, we have personal issues that show up in our academics. Essentially, every problem can be traced back to us. We are the root cause, but we're also the ones who can solve these problems. For example, a person with strong principles and mindsets could start a business from scratch, while if you hand someone irresponsible $1 million, they'd likely lose it all. It's less about what you do and more about who you are. If you want to succeed, the first step is to work on yourself. How you approach one thing often reflects how you approach everything else. Let's say you leave your room messy. That habit might extend to letting other small things slide until it becomes a cycle. Some people just have that kind of energy. You can picture them as someone who doesn't care about details, like keeping their room clean or sticking to brushing their teeth for 2 full minutes. This ties into why people believe confidence grows with discipline. It's not that others can sense your focus, it's that the confidence you build through small acts of discipline becomes visible. You could probably look at people and tell who's confident and disciplined in different areas of their lives. Your habits form the basis of who you are. If you have a weak foundation, even if you take on good habits, they might not stick. On the other hand, if your foundation is solid, you can always return to your habits no matter what happens. That's why I don't think of self-improvement in terms of days. It's a lifelong mindset. So even if things fall apart, I can always rebuild because my foundation remains. Imagine this. Elon Musk shows up at your door and hands you his companies. Without the right mindset, you'd likely fail to manage them, regardless of the help you receive. A weak foundation, no matter what you add to it, will always give way. So if you want to achieve something, look at the basics. Ask yourself, are you the kind of person who leaves your room a mess? Right now, my room is organized. I've got my plans set up, water at hand, and my notes ready. Think about your goals and where you are now. The version of you that has achieved those goals is at a different level. The goal isn't just about reaching it, it's about becoming the kind of person who can. To lift 100 kilograms, you have to build the strength first. So, the real question is, how can you grow into the person who can accomplish what you want? To get something new, you have to be willing to do something different. What's the difference? What does this person do that you don't? What do you do that they wouldn't? Maybe you spend time playing video games while they don't. Maybe you eat junk food and they avoid it. This is a question worth writing down in a notes app or on paper and answering in detail. What do I need to change in myself to become more like that person? I wrote something in my notes here. It has less to do with what's outside and more with your qualities. What does this person have that you don't? What do they do differently? What things have they given up that you might not be ready to let go of? Every 6 months in self-improvement, you might look back and see that the past version of yourself seems like a completely different person. You don't even feel like you're looking back at the same person. The change usually comes down to a couple of new habits or mindset shifts. Those small changes can transform who we are. It doesn't need to be a lot. Think about the traits of a top student or an athlete, someone you admire. What traits do they have? What traits do you need to be more like that? I learned this concept from a coaching session or podcast, something like that. The idea is that the older version of you, even the one right now, is like a separate living thing. And when you try to end that version to become a better one, that version fights back, trying to keep you in old habits. But you don't need to take 6 months to transform. If you identify what needs to change and act on it, you can feel the difference in a week. One practical method is to split your mind into 2 parts. Every time a thought comes up, see if it's from the weak side, your old self, or the strong side, your future self. If you keep making choices that your future self would be proud of, you'll eventually become that person. There's a quote by Alex H. The only person you have to impress is future you. He's the one who has your best interest at heart and truly wants you to succeed. You need to become the version of yourself who can reach your goals because the current version might not be able to. That's why I focus on mindsets, principles, and beliefs instead of quick tips. When your baseline is low, no amount of top 7 hacks will make much difference. This video might be more useful for those just starting out, but even if you've been on this journey for a year or 2, it can still help. Every time you reach a new level, you'll want to reach the next one, and that cycle of growth continues. Self-improvement is a constant process of evolving into new versions of yourself. It's like when a caterpillar goes into a cocoon and then becomes a butterfly. Imagine your current foundation and compare it to the foundation you'd have if you achieved everything you wanted. What's different? What traits does future you have that you don't? Write it down, reflect on it, and finally, take action. Take the steps you need to be the person you want to become. I believe in you. Now believe in yourself.